You got one life, for crying out loud. You might as well just give it all you got.
The Deej, Dan Jourdan.
Your daily dose of reality. Your daily dose of the Deej.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I need my daily dose of the Deej.
I make the news. I don't watch the news. I'm a leader.
The Sales Energizer, Dan Jourdan.
Listen, don't worry how to sell, baby. Worry about why people buy. And it's fun.
You don't need a 5-hour energy. All you need is the Sales Energizer.
Just when I think it's not going to be as fun as the one before, each one gets successfully better. What's the word I'm looking for? What's it going to take to get you into this car today, huh?
And now, please welcome the Sales Energizer, Dan Jourdan.
Boom! That's exactly it.
Do that. Let's do that. I'm telling you right now, look out. I haven't been here for a week. Last week, you tried to run the show without me, and it was so good, Chris Stone, that I'm like nervous. So you're getting 120% right now. Full on. Ooh. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. I mean, those guys sounded smart. I realize I'm like a goofball with every once in a while, a couple of words of wisdom. And then there's other people that are like all wisdom and very little goofball.
You may be a goofball, Dan, but you're our
Yes.
goofball.
Yeah.
And we did miss you last week. You're out, gallivanting, doing all of these, things. And I understand
was at a
this was
funeral.
This was a personal
Yeah,
thing.
that's what
I was getting
okay.
getting to that.
All right.
But Joe Miller and Crispin Cruz, they delivered. It was a great show. And so those of you who are watching Dan Jourdan or DJ Live, as we like to call it every once in a while, these are all available on replay. So whatever tube you like to enjoy your show,
Yes.
your podcast, your live stream, we love it when you're live. We love it when you chime in. We love it when you make comments and you ask questions. And
you'll love it too, because you'll get some attention. I see that's the whole idea. You see, it's a sales show. It's about sales. It's about improving small business of all types. And to be watching a show and have the, to have the ability to be able to be seen in front of, tens of people.
Yes.
But
you mean that shot of you in front of Madison Square Garden? That's not what every live show. That's not the crowd that we see.
But that's it. And to get on to point, we have our guest today, and he's in commercial real estate, which is a little different. We'll talk about it. But a lot of people in real estate kind of think they're in business, but you never really know they're an agent, but they're like a secret agent. And so it's like, and that's how business people are. It's almost, they're embarrassed to ask for business. And so they don't want to look like they're needy and all that stuff. And so people will hide away. So on a show like this, if you make a comment, we're going to put it up there and we're going to talk about you. And it's an opportunity for you to get your, 30 seconds of fame on a Chris Stone broadcast, which is not easy to do.
And don't be a chicken, right?
Yeah, don't be a chicken.
Even if you haven't commented on a live show before, give it a shot. Have a little fun. We like to have fun on this show too, right? This isn't your normal, stuffy podcast where, we do talk about sales. There's tons of value. None more value than what we got last week from Joe Miller and Crispin Cruz. I'm going to use that one, Dan, because I know it kind of gets under your fingernail a little bit.
All right. Well, so I have a special guest today, and this guy is he's a real businessman. That happens to be in commercial real estate. And I'll talk a little about it before, but I want to get him up here as quickly as possible because he's going to make the whole show look better. And so here's my friend, without further ado, the one who we go to for commercial real estate, my man, Rick Ferguson. Here he is.
Hey, man.
Hey. Yes.
Hey, I want to be like you,
Guns
man.
out, guns out.
I know. That's right.
Watch for the hook.
Look at
I love
that.
it.
People think when you mention real estate, two things happen. One, half the room leaves, and the other thing that happens is people say these guys do nothing and they make a whole lot of money. Well, let me tell you, regular real estate agents don't earn a lot of money, but commercial real estate, and the reason why I called it the real thing, and it's something that we all can learn from. People like Rick Ferguson, they earn more money than like neurosurgeons. And there's a reason for it. So, and now that would be the reason I would get into commercial real estate. But Rick Ferguson, why the heck did you get into this crazy business?
Well, Dan, I was in sales all my life. I walked the streets, cold call, and selling business telephone systems for probably 20, 25 years and did real well in it. However, my friends who I networked with at the time were in commercial real estate. They were landlord representatives, tenant representatives. And I noticed that they dressed more casual. A lot of them didn't wear socks. They were on the golf course a lot, and they drove nicer cars than I did. Yeah. So I said, and then, sales is a relationship game. It's all relationships. Yes. And when I started, I did real well because I got to become friends with my prospects. But at the end of that career, it went from relationships to, well, your software doesn't integrate with our software, and we use 4.2 and you're at 3.9. And instead of dealing with the business owners and dealing with the office managers, I was dealing with the IT folks. And IT folks, I hope I don't offend anybody, but they're not into relationships. They're into software, and they're into this works or it doesn't work. So I started not liking it as much, the technology sales. I'm not an engineer. I don't have that brain. I have a relationship brain, make friends, be with people. So I saw my buddies and I said, I could be one of my buddies. And I talked to them for about a year and got some good mentoring and put my plan together and then executed it. And my timing was perfect, Dan. I exited in 2006. I had at that time, I was driving a company Lexus that I won. I had a 6-figure salary. I had commissions. I had 3 young kids, at least 2 were in private school. And I threw all that away and went into commercial real estate, straight commission, and started doing well. And then 2007, 2008 hit. And wow.
Yeah, that's great. Well,
wow.
Hey, now I want to stop you right there just for a teachable moment for you salespeople out there. A couple of things that Rick did that you can emulate is this. One of the reasons, and we'll get to it, why he's doing well in commercial real estate is because he did well in his previous job. He sees himself as a 6-figure earner. There was no chance. He knows he can do it. He has the capability of doing it. If you know you can do it and have the capability of doing it, you're automatically at least going to get to that level because that's who you are. Once you learn how to ride a bicycle and then you get a new bike, it's a different one. You don't have to start from zero again. You already know you can ride that bicycle. You already know you can be successful. Very important wherever you are right now. If you're thinking about leaving, leave at the top. You may not time it as well as Rick did for that particular thing, but be the best where you are. Then you can move to something else with higher margins and work it from there. Just an important point to make for these salespeople. Rick, what do you think of that?
Well, one of my mentors, his name was Bill Frost in telephone, said, once you make $100,000, you'll never make less than that. Once you get accustomed, know how to do it. And so that came 25 years ago, Dan. So that proved to be true. To be true.
So you keep on rocking. So commercial sales, let's just talk about something different because I want people to really, a lot of times they don't consider it. A lot of people consider, what should I do? Let me go into real estate. But let me talk about it just as a business plan. You sell a house to somebody and then you almost have to wait 20 years for that house to come out again. And so you could build a great relationship, but you're kind of out of luck for 7 to 10 years or whatever it is. Do you ever have recurring revenue or recurring customers in the commercial business?
Every day. Matter of fact, this morning I was with a doctor. We have done 6 transactions where he's leased space. We have land under contract to build a building. He's purchased a couple of buildings, and we're looking at a building today in Alpharetta, a 20,000 square foot building for over $5 million. And his, trajectory, that's the right word, is he wants to have about 5 more buildings. That's just one example. I will tell you this, that back in 2007, 2008, when the bottom dropped, I took any and every assignment I could. And one of those assignments was a small little space on Piedmont Center. And I leased space to a man that I probably have made over $1 million with over the past 10, 15 years, and probably have done 40 transactions with from that one space.
Wow.
So yes, you can have repeat business.
Yes,
absolutely.
And
your Rolodex is important.
Yes, people don't know what a Rolodex is anymore. What are you 1,000 years old?
No,
Rolodex.
we're bringing the Rolodex back today. We're gonna bring it back.
Okay.
But
digitize that Rolodex.
And earlier you actually spoke of before you got started, you had a business plan and you executed on that plan. What did that plan look like? And did you ultimately achieve or work towards that plan, or were there changes along the way?
Well, there was changes. There was a major change. I don't know if I can say this really quick, it makes sense, but when I sold telephone systems, I knocked on doors. I said, "Do you want to buy a phone system?" They said, "Yes, we'll take proposals." I went back, I designed it, maybe went back with a sales engineer or the boss, branch manager, so to speak. We presented it and we closed it. So I thought real estate, my friends who were in it, a lot of them were what they call tenant rep brokers. And I thought it was the same process, because they would go out, "Hey, would you like new office space? What's your requirement? Let me put it together. Let me propose it." I thought it was the same. It was a fundamental error. The fundamental error was I was in sales and telephone, but when I went through that same process, I became a servant. I was more of a servant. They say, "No, I don't like this. Go back and get me that." Or "Let's wait a little while. Do this, do that." And I was like the go-to boy. Where I have shifted, the majority of my business now is listing property for sale. Half of my business, or a good majority of it, is I wanted to go back into selling. I wanted to sell space. I wanted to sell buildings. I want to sell land. Now, I do still serve like this doctor I'm talking about and some investors, but I have to scramble it up or I'll go crazy serving people. Yes. I'm a salesperson at heart. So that was a big shift I had to make. I didn't know it in my plan, because the process was the same. The process of identifying what the need was, presenting it, and trying to close it was different in commercial real estate. I was a servant there. I don't like to be a servant as much as I like to sell.
Yeah, you know what? That's great. There's such great wisdom in that, in a couple of fronts, but most importantly, the ability to shift midstream. Everybody makes mistakes. The mark of a real successful salesperson, business owner, or what have you, is the ability to recognize that mistake and change. It's the quicker you can do that, the quicker you can move on. And that business attitude is taking you far. Speaking of which, taking you far, you mentioned you had 3 boys, right?
No, I have I have 2 boys and 1 daughter.
Okay, 3 children. Okay. Anybody in the business?
No, I would love for them to be, but I've got one son at UVA right now. He's going to be a high-powered attorney heading to New York City. I've got a daughter who works at a medical office, and she's gone back to school for higher education. And I have a son who just got a promotion at IHG, and he flies around the country facilitating the owners with IHG.
All right. Still married to the same woman?
She hasn't thrown me out yet.
Yeah,
I did. That was the best decision I ever made.
Amen.
That was the best decision I ever made.
What your biggest sale?
Periodically, out of the blue, I come home with flowers just to cement that. For no reason at all.
There you go.
Yeah.
Boom. There's a sales lesson there, right?
That's right.
Surprise and delight.
And it works.
Even if they know, and by the way, gifts are great, even if people know that you're doing it for that reason. Because it makes it, because even if you're just trying to I don't know, what is it called? Nuzzle up to me. What's the word? I'm lost the word. Even
Kiss
if you're
up?
trying to, kiss up. Even if you're trying
Snuggle up,
to, even if you're trying to kiss up to me, at least you thought about me enough to try to do that.
Well, what's the alternative? Ignore the person? You know, that's the alternative. That doesn't get you anywhere.
Right.
Well, that's good. You know, so the reason is I think salespeople live the lives that you can be able to serve your wife and serve your family and give them the time. It's just a wonderful thing to do. So how does a new guy get started? Because, you know, everybody says, oh, things are so much different now. If you were mentoring like you were mentored a new person, what would you tell them?
Well, it's funny you should say that because I'm doing that right now from my nephew. My nephew just has passed his real estate school test. He's about to take the state test.
What's his name? What's his name?
His name is John Tucker.
John Tucker.
John Tucker Word.
Is he on LinkedIn?
I believe he is.
All right.
He's
What's
not
the
on
magic
LinkedIn.
that Chris Stone does?
I'm sorry.
No, just nothing. Go on. Okay. Yeah. So what are you telling your nephew?
Well, so here's so I said to him, I said, John Tucker, what are you going to do when you get your license? He goes, well, I'll probably go to the local real estate office, you know, the residential office. And I said, no. Why do you want to do that? He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, do you want to go down into mildewy basements and go into people's messy closets and have kids in the back seat with lollipops and work at night, work at weekends? Is that what you want to do? You know, he goes, well, I don't think so. I said, you need to look at commercial real estate. So in the Atlanta Commercial Board of Realtors, they have a group called YCR, and I think that's Young Commercial Realtors. And they are a group of young realtors that kind of get together like fraternities and sororities, and they have bowling league parties, and they have bus tours around the city. So I've linked him up with two young guys. They're 28 that are in commercial real estate. And they're going to invite him to some of these get-togethers, and then he'll start networking and say, "How about an internship?" And so that's what I would do. He's going to go talk to the big boys, the Jones Lang LaSalle, the CBRE. They're international firms. They have training programs, and you can become very, very successful. It's like going to work for IBM, you know, for the computers. It's a great training ground for young guys or young gals, anybody.
You know, and the difference is actually, let me ask you, without me talking over you, what is the difference? What are you selling differently when you're selling commercial real estate as opposed to residential?
Boy, I've never thought of that one, but I would say for me, at least half of my sales are investments. People buying multiple income properties. So most people buy a home because they need shelter, they need a place, you know, for the kids to go to school. They know it's an investment long term. It's probably their largest investment, but that's not what they're doing for an occupation. So I deal with a lot of folks who do that, who buy commercial real estate as an occupation. They buy in the path of progress. They buy something that needs to be fixed up. I have a great friend of mine that he has 3 buildings. Each one of them pulls in about $6,000 a month in rent. That takes care of his mortgage. He has about 4 years left. In 4 years, they'll all be paid off, and then he'll have about $18,000 of revenue that he can put a good bit of that in his pocket. That's his IRA, so to speak, or his 401.
Yes. So that's the point is when you're selling a house, and the reason why it's a lot of nitpicky, it's like, oh, do I like this color? Do I like the stairs? Do I like this? Do I like? When you're selling commercial property, it's basically math. You know,
well, I need to disagree with you on that.
Then help me, please. Okay. Disagree.
There's risk involved.
One of the things that I do, and if somebody says, what separates you from some other folks, is I push the envelope on pricing. Okay. And when I sell real estate, normally when I'm selling real estate, I'm selling to an end user. So I'm selling a piece of real estate to an attorney or a doctor or somebody like that who's going to be a user. Those users will pay more for something because they're going to use it than an investor. Those users will say, well, I'm buying this one, almost like the house, because I live in this neighborhood. I want to live in this neighborhood. Or they'll say, I want to be on this side of 400, not the other side. They buy for their personal preference, and they'll pay more. Now,
Yeah,
if
well,
I'm,
okay, perfect example. So Rick actually worked a deal with my son Matthew that we on a piece of property that he's using for his business, and he's able to rent out some of it and pay for the mortgage and all that stuff. So yes, it was the perfect position for him, but because if you're using it for yourself, you're basically paying yourself the rent.
that's correct.
Yeah,
That's
so
correct.
so it is looked at as an investment as well. In fact, most businesses will almost start a separate corporation for their real estate that the one business pays the other corporation for the real estate. Do you find that?
Absolutely. Most of those, let's say the,
Oh, we
Oh, we're
lost
losing
you.
your audio, Rick.
Somehow we lost your audio. All right.
Yeah, it
well,
could be one thing you might want to do is on StreamYard. Sometimes if you go out and then come back in,
Yeah.
that could flip it back, or go down to your settings and your audio and make sure your microphone and your headphones are set
And
there.
make sure
and-
you didn't just press mute by mistake also.
Oh, he is muted, and I
Oh.
can't unmute you.
So you need
So,
to
Rick,
unmute yourself.
If
There's a
can you
little-
hear us, Rick?
Can you hear us? Yeah.
You
So
can.
just
Your mic is muted.
your mic is oh no, now he can't hear us. Oh, your mic is muted.
All right.
All right. Well, in any event, yes. So the real estate in Matthew's case, really cool. So he bought this piece of property that's near to his house. It was just really a piece of property. Leveled the whole thing out with the skid steer, what have you, and all of a sudden, it's available for rent. And so it's available for rent. And so now you could rent it. He still has part of it that he can use. He rents the other part, pays for the whole mortgage. And so it is math when you think about commercial property. It's like an easy thing to do. Hey, listen, instead of paying rent, why don't you own the whole thing? It's the same thing as your home. Can you hear us now, Rick?
I think hearing us is not the problem. We can't hear you yet,
Okay.
Rick.
So Rick, there's
You're
a little
unmuted here. So I would just make sure that your audio is set down there in your settings, and you've selected the mic that you had when you logged into to StreamYard. If not, one good thing you might want to do is maybe just refresh the browser.
Yeah.
Come back in. Sometimes that
There we go.
reboots things.
So Chris Stone, what have you been doing? I saw you
I'm
yesterday.
thinking about getting some commercial real estate, man.
Yeah, that's it.
That's incredible. Here, Rick is back in. Let's see how we're looking, Rick. Oh, we're still not hearing you.
All right. Well, listen, it was good while we had you. You gotta. It's okay. I could read your lips.
Well,
He's
let's
saying,
try this, Rick. And for those who are watching, this is like live video, so bear with us for a second. And those that are watching on replay, just bear with us a second. Go ahead and click that gear icon down there, Rick, under settings, and click audio. And then under your mic, you want to select the mic that you had chosen when you logged in. Could be your computer microphone, whatever you had used. And select that, and you'll be able to see this little LED green meter next to your microphone. I know this is scintillating television for everyone.
No, this is good stuff. And here's the thing. You would think someone like myself would be embarrassed for this, but you know what happens when you turn like 40 and above? You literally lose the ability to care what anybody does. It's a great thing in sales, by the way, not to care. I went recently to a prospect, and I'm looking for this person, and this person's just not there. And so I keep calling. And, it's to the point where it's just annoying. And so I walked in, and the guy says, like this in my face, the reason why we're not calling back is we don't want to do business with you. And you would think that would be frustrating, embarrassing, especially because there were several other people in the lobby saying the same thing. And so I smiled at them, and I walked out, and I went to the next customer. I didn't even think about that until right now. Like, I have no, it's just like a nothing thing. How's Rick doing?
Rick, we still can't hear you. And I don't see you muted.
Yeah.
In there, in the studio as well. So I'm not sure what's going on with your mic settings on your computer. So I think.
I just heard a noise.
Did you hear a noise? Okay,
oh, there we go. Now you're
What'd
back.
you do?
Okay,
Ladies
I'm back
and
on the
gentlemen.
iPod for a second, so let the other side charge up.
Oh,
so you lost the charge?
Yes,
It must have. So I'm using one now. Let's see if we can.
Oh yeah.
All right.
All right.
Did you not recharge your batteries? How
I
often
did.
do you have to recharge that thing?
Typically, when you put them in the case, they recharge like in 5 minutes.
Oh, is that it? It's in 5 minutes?
So at night, I charge it up, yes.
Oh, yeah, I do that too. Hey, let me ask you a question. Do you sleep with your phone in your bedroom?
I do not.
Yeah, neither do I. How about you, Chris Stone?
I do. I
sleep
use
within
it
your
for my
bedroom?
alarm. Mm-hmm.
I use it as your alarm, but doesn't it make little noises throughout the night that get you all?
No, I set it so that it doesn't.
Oh, really?
I still have kids that are out and about, just like you guys. And if something comes in, an emergency in the middle of the night, you want to be available if that's a thing.
I put it in
so
the
you
kitchen.
can set. It's a smartphone. You can set it so that it can be used just for what it should be, which is emergency contact and alarm.
So he's using technology. What new technology do you use in commercial real estate, Rick Ferguson?
There we go. Oh, he just told you he's not that. He's a relationship guy, Dan.
I know, but I mean, there's got to be some.
Well, I'll tell you one that I found that's really nice. A lot of seasoned folks use this, but there's a product called Land Glide. It costs $10 a month. You pull up to any building and you just open the app, and it'll go right to that building. It'll tell you who owns the building. It'll tell you what the address is. Tell you the tax records immediately. It's great.
Land Glide, $10 a month.
$10 a month.
Landglide.com. Unbelievable. You see, anything you have to do, there's something that makes it automated and easier. That's crazy. How much time does that save you? So have you done that? Have you ever just pulled up to a place and contacted the person?
Well, believe it or not, I do it for prospecting. What I love to sell are buildings that are old, they're empty, and they're growing weeds. So I pull that up. I pull into a parking lot. I pull it up. I screenshot what it is, and when I get back to the office, then I'll take all those 10 screenshots and I'll call the owners and say, "Hey, I see you got an empty building. Would you like to monetize it? Would you like to sell it, lease it?" So that's part of my prospecting when I'm out by myself.
Oh, that is great. That's
not bad for a guy who doesn't like IT. Not bad. That's using technology very intentionally.
If I can learn it, I'll use it. If I can learn it, I'll use it. That's great. Another great one that a lot of people, I was going to say, I like to use a lot of, on Gmail, they call it scheduled. I think on Outlook, they use it delayed email. But I can go in, if I want to send Dan an email, I can think about it. I'll type it, and then I can say, send it Monday at 8 o'clock. And then it goes out. I can do a text that way as well. So I don't have to really get involved in it, in doing something with that person, but I can just go and say, "Hey, Dan, let's have lunch at, such and such a place." And that text or email is scheduled.
Yeah, a lot of CRM systems worth their salt should have that sort of functionality. But yeah, there's plugins and Chrome extensions for Gmail, like Boomerang's one of them that does that, right? So that you can just kind of say,
Gmail
well,
doesn't now,
I don't want this.
Gmail's integrated. Whoops.
Right.
Fine. We hear you.
Yeah. Gmail's integrated now. There's no charge.
I feel like I'm doing that just so I could feel like I'm.
Well, I've got a question. I'm sorry, I've got a question for you, Rick. I know that, like you had mentioned during the course initially here, and some folks are probably just now joining, or maybe they were just tuned out and they were just looking at Dan Jourdan the entire time. But I noticed that
you mean the Deej?
The Deej, right? I noticed that you said in 2008, when the bottom dropped out, you ramped yourself up, right? You you went all in. And so that's, I think, maybe what a lot of people look at for real estate, and specifically commercial real estate. And they're like, well, they'll get the headlines, right? And they'll say, well, this is up and this is down. And maybe they don't know enough, or they know enough to be dangerous. And that causes hesitation in terms of the risk that they would do to invest in certain properties. So when the market is down for you, how do you manage that? How do you sort of,
Well, the market's
ride
never
those waves and try to figure out what you're going to do in terms of investing?
Well, the market's really never down. It just goes up and down, and it flows. And there's so many sectors in the market. Like right now, I would say the fill in office space has a low demand, but the fill warehouse space is high demand. Okay. So you can pivot or shift and say, well, then let me go work with the people who have the warehouses. Let me go help find them or lease them. That's the hot thing, so to speak. When I first got in the business during that time, there was the banks were taking back a lot of property. People weren't making payments. And there's a fellow, Rob, that I worked with who had been more seasoned than I was. So he went to all the banks and said, hey, let me sell your REO, your real estate owned property. So he pivoted towards that. One of the mentors I mentioned when I first got in the business, his name is Ken Ashley. Ken, technology in the .com era got really big. So they set up a technology brokerage and specialized in technology. There's some folks that specialized in data centers. Right now, a big item is people have shifted into self-storage. So commercial real estate has 100 different roles that you can work in. So you can easily shift.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if sedans aren't selling now, let's go sell the pickup trucks.
Yeah. Do you feel like you specialize in a particular industry or particular, is there a type for you, Rick?
Office, warehouse, and mainly office and warehouse. Okay. I try to stay away from retail. It doesn't pay as well. So I kind of pivot more towards the office and the warehouse. I will do some commercial land. I'm not really into multifamily land. So you can you pick and choose. But if someone Googles my name, I'll tell you, this is kind of interesting, Dan. You'd find this interesting. If you put my phone number, 678-209-3100, in Google, but don't hit web, hit images, my whole commercial life comes up. They have pictures of my signs. They have pictures of me, the buildings that I've sold. It's kind of like if my kids want to know, well, what does Dad do? They can just put my phone number in Google Images, and Google picks all that up. I don't put any of it on there, but they scrape the internet and they put it on the images.
Oh, because your number is on all those images. That's really cool. Yeah. So look at that. See the magic of Chris Stone?
Look at that.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing.
There's my brochures, some of the properties, my picture. It might capture a couple other people, so to speak, but most of that you'll see is got my logos on it, my pretty face. That's my sign person before I rebranded my company. That's on Peachtree Industrial. You'll see some of the buildings, inside of buildings. That's a piece of land. Actually, that was kind of an interesting story right there. That's up by the Big Chicken. I sold that property for $2.15 million, myself and a fellow by the name of Larry Brown. And now there's a Chipotle and a car wash on that property.
You know what I'm hearing from you, and I'd like you to keep on telling us stories about these, but what I'm hearing from you, as opposed to the real estate residential market, where I hear there's a lot of kind of backstabbing and, cattiness and fighting and things, in the commercial sector, you've mentioned several times about mentors. Is there more camaraderie? Do you have a team of people?
There's a tremendous amount of camaraderie, and it's kind of built in, tremendous, because somebody's got a piece of property to sell. Somebody's got a buyer to buy it. You've got to play well in the sandbox. You got to stroke each other to make this deal happen. You're not adversaries. You may have a couple of negotiating times where you're arm wrestling. Unlike the telephone sales, when I was competing on a deal, we would hate the enemy, the other company. But all these brokers is kind of like being in a fraternity. They party together. They go to association meetings together. We see each other at broker events. So it's very much a family, if you want to call it that. More so, I think, than the residential world.
And so the community of people, do you find yourself doing business with the same people? Like, do you have a listing? Will you call around to your other people and say, hey, I got something. Do you know anyone?
Yeah, if I think, yes, absolutely. If I think that, hey, this is in their wheelhouse. Well, here's what's interesting more than that is we do business with each other in another world. I'll give you an example. We'll refer business to each other. I had a great, an attorney called me and he said, Rick, can you help my client? The client has a big warehouse way out in Covington. I looked at it, a great opportunity, but I don't know Covington real well. I'm really not the best person. So I referred it to a friend of mine out in Covington and said, hey, you want to do another deal? Because we did one in McDonough. And he goes, sure. So he will give me a slice of his commission if that becomes successful. So we sometimes, if it's out of our geographical area, if it's out of our area of expertise, we'll help each other in that world.
Is this a handshake deal or a official thing with writing and referral agreements and all that stuff?
Well, the best way is always having writing. However, it's a relationship world. So if you're a commercial agent and I've known you for 10 years and you say something, what I might do is send you an email just so that our old gray hair brains don't forget what we agreed to. But if I've done business with you for 10, 15 years and we're buddies, I may not say, you got to sign this piece of paper.
My hair's like white now. It's not even gray. It's like white. I never expected like blonde hair to turn gray, but it doesn't. It just turns white.
That turns white. Right.
Yeah,
they have shoe polish for that.
Yeah, this stuff. I was thinking about using that stuff, but then you got to keep up with it. It's like contact lenses. I never had contact lenses, just the annoyance, and I knew I'd lose them.
It's like anything, you get used to it.
So here's the thing. This is I had to go downtown this morning, and so like this is what's in my brain. I say, let me go real early. That way there'll be no traffic. But the problem is going real early also means that it's dark. And so I have a tough time these days, like judging from headlights only, like the speed and where they are located, like in the rearview mirror. So I never know. And so the fourth time I found myself going east instead of west on 285, and you're like, oh, and when you're on the exit and you're going in the wrong direction, it's like the most frustrating thing. You just hate yourself all over again.
Well, so, you can blame that. You can blame that on DOT right now. They've kind of got temporary lanes and temporary ramps. So
yeah, I don't know. On them. I could anyway. So my morning frustration, but you know what I realized? There's always another exit. And so you can just take the exit and turn around and come back. And it's the same thing in like what Chris Stone was talking about in sales. What happens? Is there any market? What do you do when it's down? There's another exit. Find something else to sell in commercial.
Well, here's the benefit. Yeah, Dan, here's the benefit to that too, is if you take the same route every day, you're going to see the same thing. If you want to prospect, take a different route or get lost, and it's shocking what you'll find. You'll say, I never knew that was there. Oh,
yeah, you're right. Even take a walk. When you walk, you see things differently than when you're driving.
Yes.
Yeah. I listen to a lot of sales things. And one thing that someone said is go for a drive, a leisurely drive on Sunday when there's no traffic.
Mm-hmm.
Get yourself a cup of coffee, wear some shorts, go for a drive. And it's amazing what you'll find, because you're not in stop and go, fast traffic. It's more leisurely, and you'll see things that you don't see when you're zipping around during the week.
What type of shorts?
Plaid.
Okay.
I was going to go cargo, but yeah, okay.
That was quick the way you just came
Yeah,
right back.
man, boom,
with you.
plaid,
that was
always
just,
plaid.
just
Plaid.
right in there. I mean, listen. I think it's a great business. Now you're a broker now, which means so it's same rules that apply like a real estate agent. You have to work for a couple of years as an agent and then take another test and become a broker.
Correct. 3 years.
3 years. And when you're a commercial, can a real estate agent sell commercial deals?
Oh, absolutely. There's only one license to be a real estate agent. There's only one license.
Okay, so it's
there's
just
not a commercial license. There's not a residential license. It's one license.
So I'm selling this. I had a friend of mine who has this business that asked me to help him sell it, and we have a deal on it. And the property, the business comes with some property. But the buyer is buying it, buying the whole thing too. Do we need a real estate? Do we need an agent for this, or can I just go to the closing attorney and have them draw up the same paperwork?
Number one, you're not supposed to take a commission on the property if you're not licensed.
What if you're not? Is it a state fine or is it a fine from the real estate commission? Because if you're not an agent,
the real estate commission does work for this, is part of the state, so it would be a state fine.
So if I'm not an agent, I have no license.
Correct.
They can fine. They can't take away my license because I don't have one, but they can fine me.
Sure. You can sell your own business, your own building, but you cannot go sell someone else's building or someone else's land without a license.
So let's say I sold Chris Stone's house to a friend of mine. I introduced them. They worked out a deal together, and then Chris said, "Hey, he's going to give me a few grand for making the deal happen." Is that legal?
No.
Not without a license.
No, you don't have a license.
Unless you own the property, you can't do that.
Yeah, you don't
own
have
the
a
property
license.
that you're selling. You don't have.
Why would people get a license if they could do that?
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm watching
that's
smoke
interesting.
rise from behind the white hair.
Yeah.
Now,
what
you should do.
What if I just call it a referral? He wants to pay me 10 grand as a referral fee.
Because there's a law that says you have to have a license to do it, right? I mean,
that doesn't sound right. You could just make a license.
Right, well, talk to your representative.
All right.
Yeah. Here's even a simpler one, Dan. Dan, let's say you said to me, Rick, I want you to go sell my uncle's building and give me a $5,000 fee. If you don't have a license, I cannot give you a referral fee.
But let's say, but Chris Stone, same thing with Chris Stone. Chris Stone does not have a license, and I don't have a license.
Right.
And that same thing happened. Can he give me a referral fee? It's like he doesn't have a license. Hey, Chris,
you can't be involved in the sale of something that isn't yours unless you have a license to do it. Right? I mean, it's pretty clear.
Right. Now, what you could do if you wanted to do it proper, you put two people together, and you say, "Listen, you two want to sell, you want to buy. Let's go to the attorney. The attorney doesn't need a real estate license, okay?
Right.
Go to the attorney who'll draw up a contract. He'll do all the right things with escrow monies, and he'll be impartial, so to speak. And you put them together, and you can't take any money for it. You could probably go out to dinner with them, maybe, as a thank you. But that would be the right way of doing it. But to earn a living, to make money, to make income,
if there's real estate
the law
involved,
says you need to have a license.
So like a one-off deal, just as long as you're not like doing a commission transfer of any sort. I think that's what Dan's wanting to do. He's wanting to go under the table. You're getting into the mind of Dan Jourdan.
Pull Brandon Still up, Chris Stone, in comments. So let me tell you the story about Brandon Still. So Brandon is by the way, he's a special guy. We talk about Brandon.
He thinks about solutions. So
yeah, he has a solution for that. Brandon still is he years ago, I had a staffing company, and I get a phone call and I used to sell some stuff online, like on Fiverr and things like that, cold calling scripts and things like that.
Yeah.
And I get a call from this 18 or 19-year-old kid who saw me this stuff and just asked me for my help or whatever. He said, "Can you help me become a salesperson or whatever?" And so we did some training and all that, paid money that he didn't have. Amazing. And I got him a job. I think I got him a job as a car salesman. He wanted to be a car salesman for Toyotas, and I made a bunch of calls and I got him and killed it, did really well, and all that stuff. He's just the monster, a great guy. We talk about him all the time. And then he realized that he could wholesale houses. And if you could, in the real estate market, and I don't know if you know what that is, but basically you find somebody who wants to sell their house and you say, actually, it's those people who say we pay cash for houses.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they do. And so you say, I'm going to buy your house in 2 weeks. And then you've got 2 weeks. So you have the paper, you have the contract, and you got 2 weeks to find a buyer. And the buyer basically buys that paper. So you buy the house for, $100,000 and they pay you 120 and you pocket the 20,000 in there. So you're not selling the house, you're selling the paper, you're selling the contract.
Right.
I think that is Brandon Still's solution. And if I'm wrong, just let me know. But
inflating the cost in between, basically.
Yeah. So
finding something that
difference
may look like it's undervalued, and then selling it and yeah, I mean that's
like those abandoned houses that you were talking about, Rick. Those abandoned, those buildings with weeds. So if you could tell them. So is that the solution that you're talking? Is that legal in commercial property as well as in real estate, in residential?
Oh, I think we lost audio again.
How do we lose? You got the worst batteries, Rick. In that case, I'm just going to keep on talking. Can you hear us? We can.
Rick, nod if you can hear us.
Well, I think what we're learning here, Chris Stone, is that Rick Ferguson is a very ethical commercial real estate agent.
Yes.
Which is the
well,
reason
you get on a show like this where you have tens of people watching. You want to make sure that you're towing the line. You want to.
Here I keep on trying to throw him curveballs, but he will not divert from the straight and narrow, and that's
good,
why.
Though.
He's the world's best commercial real estate agent. And though he's horrible with microphone technology.
Hey, listen, Dan, there are times.
Yes, that's right. I need, you know what I need, Chris Stone? One of those boom arms that you have.
Yes, you do.
Yes.
You need a boom arm.
I need a boom arm. Where do I get a boom arm?
Well, there's a thing called Amazon.
Yes,
I know of a show on Amazon called Dealcasters. Yeah, and so there's a bunch of boom arms.
Okay.
But we could talk about that, like something you hook your Q2U up to, and
yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
It depends. It depends on where you're going to mount it.
Oh, I almost heard a noise from Rick Ferguson. Talk again, Rick Ferguson.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
Okay. So he can't hear us either. I think the internet gods are telling us something. But so this show is going in other directions. Rick,
yes.
Do we hear you? No.
All right.
We'll talk about the boom arm for sure.
Okay.
It depends on where you're using it, what it's for. Does it need to be mobile? You're going to be taking it different places. All of that matters. Budget.
Okay.
But for the most part, they're you can get a decent one for. That's what Dealcasters is about. Getting you the best thing that you need in your budget. So
we'll check it out. So Brandon Still, what else does he have to say? Maybe Brandon can give us the answer.
He says you can sell the paper and collect assignment, but you can also set up 2 separate closings and do the deal dry.
Ah.
Okay, that sounds That sounds like we're going in a different direction here on the show. You know,
Yeah.
2 different closings, do the deal dry.
Yeah, well,
Was this like a, commercial real estate hack?
Yeah.
Is this a back alley, Brandon?
Well, that's what you get here all times. Well, Rick Ferguson, it was, we can't hear you, but we can still look at you for a second. That's all right. Listen, if we've learned
Rick
anything
Ferguson deserves, Stan?
What?
He
Oh,
deserves confetti for today.
Yeah, this is most people. By the way, I called Rick Ferguson yesterday and asked him if he'd be on the show. Maybe we need to get Brandon Still on the show and they could talk about that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we'll go check it out. All right. So listen, if you're out there watching in terms of real estate, if you want to get into the business, it's a great idea to look into the commercial side of it because it's an actual real sales process. When you're talking to the seller or to the buyer, there's a lot of value that you can give. You're not buying this house for shelter. You're buying this property to allow your business to succeed and accomplish more and to earn money and all that. It's not just an investment for the property. It's what that business can do for you on a cash flow basis forever. It's a much more business-like transaction where you can get recurring business, and it's a great way to be. So become a commercial real estate agent. But if you can't and you need to find someone, there's one. Let's make them big for a second. There's one man and one man only that you should be calling, and his name is Rick Ferguson. Arms in the air.
Oh, and we can hear him now.
Yeah, 678-209-3100.
Well, and watch what magic that happens. Look at that. That is the magic of Chris Stone. 678-209-3100. I appreciate you coming here, Rick Ferguson. Chris Stone, once again, beyond compare. Nobody else can do this. I want everybody to call Rick Ferguson. He's your man. And if you don't even want to call him, just look at him up on, just go on to images on Google and you'll see his whole life story. You guys are the best. I'm the Deej. We'll see you next time. Take it easy.
Go get him.
Thank you.